Would you like to discover the top 3 secret coping skills and why they work in terms of brain and nervous system? Well, stick around because we're going to cover just that. Hi, my name is Jesse, and this is my channel Open Source Owners, where we try to answer the question, what if humans had an owner's manual? If you watch till the end of the video, there's going to be an offer right at the end that you don't want to miss. But without further ado, let's jump into it. So the top coping skill is called metacognition. Now, what the heck is metacognition? Metacognition means being aware of the way that we engage with our thinking processes. So I'll say that again, being aware of the way that we're engaging with our thinking processes. So we're actually trying to understand how the brain works. Not just the brain, but our brain. And so metacognition is the practice and the skill set that one would learn and engage in to really begin to understand how it is that our brain is operating. Now, without this skill set, without metacognition, what we're actually doing is we're running programs that have been programmed through subconscious programming from our culture, our parents, our primary caregivers, and we're not really aware that we're running these programs until we practice metacognition. The most obvious practice for metacognition is forms of meditation. Now, there are other forms of metacognition, so if you don't like meditation, don't fret, don't close the video. You don't have to meditate to practice metacognition. You can do it through journaling, you can do it through therapy, you can do it through just talking with people about sort of deeper issue things. Now, you are going to have to engage new knowledge in order to learn the skill of metacognition and to practice the skill of metacognition. But what do you get? When you actually become metacognitive and you become aware of how your thoughts are flowing in and out of your conscious mind and how they're then triggering, sort of like cascading down emotions, fears, anxieties, depression, lack of meaning, lack of purpose, all these things that can sort of like cause people to feel stuck. Well, metacognition will begin to allow you to have awareness of those systems that are sort of downstream and change things upstream so that we don't end up in that stuck, anxious, or depressed place. Okay, so let's do a couple practices where we actually try to do metacognition. So the first thing that you could begin to do is just write down common thoughts that you have. And so one way to do this, one strategy to do this, is just for 1 minute every hour throughout the day. You can skip an hour, it doesn't matter. But if you just say like, okay, at the top of every hour that I'm awake and conscious, I'm just going to pause and for 1 minute, write down the common thoughts that I've been having. And so you just simply reflect. So let's say it's 9 a.m. and you see the clock. It's like, oh, it's 9:05 a.m. Okay, pause, grab a little piece of paper and a pen and write down the common thoughts that I've been having for the past hour. And that, all of a sudden, doing that, especially if you can do that for multiple hours, multiple days, you'll start to see patterns in the cognitive apparatus. And then what you can do, since you're a human, you're a creator, you're an owner, as I say in my channel here, you can actually begin to write down your preferred thought. So maybe you're thinking, why does this happen to me? That's a common thought that pops up into your brain. Well, what would be a preferred way that you'd like to reframe that thought? That's the question. And that's up to you. You get to decide that. But for me, maybe I would say, if I'm always thinking, why does this always happen to me? Maybe the reframe could be like, this pattern keeps showing up to teach me a lesson. What's the lesson? Right? So maybe every time that I, over time as I practice this, what I'd like my brain to begin to trigger is every time that programmed thought of why does this always happen to me come up, then I will begin to insert my preferred cognition style. And that's what metacognition does for us practically, is it allows us to rewrite and sort of re-alter at the highest point in the watershed, so to speak, at the highest leverage point that we can possibly find. It allows us to change how our thinking process is going for our benefit, of course. Now, metacognition can be more formally practiced in terms of a meditation practice. And my favorite meditation practice is called concentration meditation. And this is my favorite for beginners, I should say, because there's a million meditations. Some of them are used for spiritual development. The one that I'm teaching, the concentration meditation, is much more commonly used just for learning to focus, learning to become aware of our mindset, and learning to basically create parts of our brain that are metacognitive. So I'll cover that in another video, the concentration meditation. You can maybe click around, maybe I'll put it up or something like that. But before we get into the how to do all these practices, I want to say a couple more things about metacognition. The main thing that I want to say about metacognition is we are not born with the ability to have metacognition. Maybe some people are, but most 99% of humans are not. Meaning this part of our brain, this developmental aspect of being a human, does not actually get installed until we purposefully install it through a regular meditation practice or a regular journaling practice or some type of therapy. There are certain types of therapy that really work on metacognition. Mentalization-based therapy would be one of them. But again, you don't have to go to therapy to engage in metacognition. It's just something that you have to practice. And as the saying goes in neuroscience, neurons that fire together, wire together. So as you practice metacognition, you get better at it, better at it, better at it, and it serves you, and it serves sort of the mastery that you feel over your thinking process, which is a huge victory for a lot of people who feel attacked or out of control of their own thoughts and out of their own thinking. Okay, on to number 2. Big secret in the mental health space is microbiome protection, the gut-brain interaction, gut-brain energy sort of connection. Most people are sort of aware of this at this point. The microbiome, of course, is just the tiny, small little organisms that live in and on you and actually run most of your systems, from your immune health to your energy systems to even a lot of your neurotransmitter production. 95% of your body's serotonin is created in the gut. So below the stomach, the intestines is actually synthesizing from raw sort of materials and then creating serotonin, which is sent through the vagus nerve, at least the metabolites are, so that your brain is able to function better. There's a profound connection between the microbiome health and your mental health, but also beyond mental health, between microbiome health and just sort of like general energy, general creativity, general sort of feeling like you're thriving. And what I sort of specialize in is people who feel stuck. Many times the cause of stuckness is microbiome dysfunction, microbiome unhealth. Basically, if we don't protect our microbiome, it is being damaged through many, many, many small things in and around the home and in and around our bodies that until we begin to protect them, we just don't simply realize how profound the microbiome connection is to coping, to living with life, to stress reduction, to good sleep, to positive thoughts, and to even cravings. Now, it surprises some people to know that you could have like a sugar craving, for instance, that is literally driven. It is literally like the hungry microbiome in your gut, the hungry bacteria and protozoa and all that stuff is screaming out to you in a bubbling way to your thought process, hey, I'm hungry, give me some sugar. And then that's what we call a craving. And then you go, yeah, I need some sugar. And you mindlessly just scarf down some sugar. The microbiome, the bacteria, and other living organisms go, we got what we needed. We can reproduce more, and we can make more neurotransmitters. Now, the problem with the sugar example is you're making neurotransmitters that are more inflammatory. You're actually you're prevented from making positive or super healthy neurotransmitters, and instead you're going to make things like quinolytic acid, which is, I don't think, a neurotransmitter, but it's a byproduct that can actually be toxic to the mind and toxic to the brain. You don't really want that. This is why blood sugar issues and microbiome protection often, at least at first, involves changing diet and making sure that you're eating to regulate your blood sugar. Without healthy microbiome populations, your brain can't think. You can't have metacognition very well. It's a much more of a struggle to be aware of the mind and to sort of feel like we're in control, like we're the owner of ourselves. So that is secret number 2. It's one of the highest level coping skills. In fact, all of these are the highest level coping skills that I can teach. In other videos, we will get to the nitty gritty, like how do I do it? What do I do? Those are fun. Those are awesome. I like to teach those. But the highest level stuff actually will yield over time the greatest results. Okay, on to number 3. What is it? Positive affirmations. Don't turn off the video. I know you've heard of positive affirmations. They get a bad rap. I used to sort of not really like positive affirmations because I thought, like telling yourself something that you want to believe, but that you don't really believe is sort of like lying to yourself. And there's not a lot of buy-in. People are, they see right through that and they're like, I'm not going to just lie to myself and tell myself over and over that everything's great and wonderful when I'm clinically depressed, or when I'm struggling with anxiety, or when I'm in the middle of a breakup or something like that. But then I learned the secret to positive affirmations, and what is so powerful about them is that it is the most sort of like hands-on, direct way that you can personally reprogram your thought processes. Neurons that fire together, wire together. So when we understand neuroscience and neurobiology, then we understand that purposely having positive affirmations that we repeat again and again and again will actually, through the pruning method of changing networks in the brain, will actually form new networks in the brain. And that is absolutely critical. What's great about positive affirmations is it's like therapy on a page. Like, I encourage people to write them down, but then you repeat them. But you don't need to just meet with a therapist once a week to be reminded of your positive affirmations. It's something that you can remind yourself of multiple times throughout the day, at least once a day or something like that. And so how to do positive affirmations and what type of positive affirmations to write is really the name of the game. Okay, so how do you do positive affirmations? Well, the key is it has to come from your own understanding of what you're personally working on. So it has to be very personalized. So for instance, you might say, like, maybe you're struggling handling stress, and the way that you handle stress is you eat sugar or something, and you want to change that. You want to do something else. Maybe you decide you want to take a brief walk or stretch for 2 or 3 minutes every time you feel overwhelmed by stress. So your positive affirmation might be, and it's going to be in a positive language. It's going to be in the present tense, and it's going to be personalized, okay? Positive language, present tense, personalized. Very important. So you might say something like, every time I feel overwhelmed by stress, I stretch for 2 minutes. Okay, and that's just your positive affirmation. Now, the positive affirmation doesn't make you do the stretching. That's a secondary step. But what it is beginning to do is remind yourself, and if you do it enough, it will remind you sort of subconsciously, which is really where we want to get with positive affirmations, the subconscious level, because then it's just set it and forget it. But in order to install it as a program, we have to actually just do it a bunch. Over 21 to 60 days, let's say, and you could, that's about the time frame it takes to form a new neural network and a new habit, basically. So you'd want to say your positive affirmation out loud from a neutral position, and we'll talk later about really how to do them in a more deep way. But let's just say for now, we want to write positive affirmations that are personal, that are addressing what we really want to address, and you want to say them out loud in a neutral position. So you don't want to believe it, you don't want to not believe it, you just want to say it and keep repeating it to yourself. So you might say, every time I feel stressed out, I will stretch for 2 to 3 minutes. Take a breath, say it again. Every time I'm stressed out, I will stretch for 2 to 3 minutes, and maybe say it one more time. Every time that I feel stressed out, I will stretch for 2 to 3 minutes. Okay? Now, how are you going to practice your positive affirmations? There's many ways to do it. No way is right or wrong. I'll give you 2 of the best strategies. The first strategy is get a sheet of paper, write down the positive affirmations that you're working on. Try to keep it relatively short. I guess you could have a list of 50 and you just cycle through like 3 or 4 every day or something. But it's probably better just to pick like 3 or 4 that you're really trying to work on and just use those over the next 2 or 3 or 4 weeks until they start to actually bubble up into behavior change. So you write those down on a list, and the best way to do it, or the 2 best ways to do it, is to read it every morning. Read your positive affirmations just with your coffee, or as you're even on the bathroom, or whatever you do every morning habitually, and just read it out loud. And you say it 3 to 4 times per one. So it might take you like 2 or 3 minutes total to do the positive affirmations. Okay? And then eventually what that does is it seeds the idea throughout the day when you're feeling stressed out. It's a reminder that's beginning to be installed, and you might and you will eventually probably begin to do the stretching. Now, caveat, if you hate stretching, don't pick stretching. Pick things that you would actually do, you intend to do, you want to do, you feel better when you do them. Okay, and then the second strategy for positive affirmations, the first one is read it every morning. The second one is to stack it after like a meal. Typically, I suggest dinner. So after you eat dinner, that's when you will do a little bit of self-care, a little bit of positive affirmations, okay? And then you just read them again out loud, 3 to 4 times each. Might take you 2 to 3 minutes, and then you're done. But you commit to that every day. You commit to that, you can skip a day here and there, but you try to really get a streak going, and that's how positive affirmations will really help rewire the neural networks of your brain. So these 3 secrets altogether actually sort of form the foundation of really profound life change. Not just coping skills, but like, wow, I've shifted the quality of my life to a higher degree. Now, again, there are more specific, more concrete examples that we'll go through in the channel, but these are big, high-level sort of best practices that we can do to cope ongoingly, and really no matter the stressor. These three particular aspects will serve us throughout the rest of our lives, because you can always change your positive affirmations, and the metacognition is feeding into understanding how the positive affirmations may need to be formed. And always focusing on the microbiome health and protection will just serve you in terms of like, you'll always, in theory, have enough serotonin, dopamine, acetylcholine, GABA, all the neurotransmitters that you need to feel good and to sort of like live your best life will be protected. And if we're not protecting them, they are being sucked away. They are being damaged just by nature of our life. We can get into that at another video. Okay. So that is it. I hope that you found that interesting. Thanks for staying to the end. We have a free 60-page ebook called The Owner's Manual Part 2, Learning and Knowledge. This is 60 pages of information that I put together for my clients over the years. I'd like to give it to you for free. All you got to do is put your email in the link below, and then you'll get that 60-page ebook. It's probably more information than anybody actually wants to go through. It's bullet pointed, so it's really easy to follow. So that is the top 3 secret coping skills and why they work. Click subscribe, hit the bell, all that sort of stuff if you want to follow more. We will keep putting out videos all about what it means to be a human and what it would be like if we actually were born and given an owner's manual. Wouldn't that be great? Thanks for watching. We'll talk to you later. Bye.